are on the 16's Telenetwork, earning the reputation of giving all the right ingredients, uninhibited, in exposing the hard, cold facts about the Watchtower Society. And now, the end is near.
Well, hello everyone and welcome in to JW World News tonight, October 16th, 2021, and we are counting down the last days of the Watchtower. Well, there we have it. Hello, everyone. My name is Rick Farron, and I am coming to you from the epicenter of apostasy right up here in Boston, Massachusetts. And we're glad you're with us tonight. Boy, I'll tell you, 16 years. We never missed a Saturday night. We are here because you are here. We are here because, there's a lot of people out there who have left the Watchtower, and they are in need of talking to people. That's what we all need, don't we? I mean, I needed it when I left the Watchtower. I couldn't get enough of anyone talking about the Watchtower, and would get together with email and check things out on the telephone with each other. But it's so neat now that we can come in here every Saturday night, and we have people call in from all over the world, and we really appreciate all the callers. And I want you to know that's very, very important. When you folks call into the 6 screens, people are listening. There's Jehovah's Witnesses listening. There are Christians listening. There are ex-witnesses listening. There's a lot of people that have a fascination with witnesses, especially ex-witnesses. They want to be able to consult with one another. And how reassuring it is when there's hundreds, thousands of apostates out there, people that no longer believe in the Watchtower. It's a nice, nice feeling knowing that there's more than just one of us out there. Because years ago, I'll tell you something, when people get out of the Watchtower, say even just 20 years ago, they had a problem. They didn't know how they could connect with people. The internet was just getting going, and people would email, and they would do that to try to give each other some encouragement. But today we have so many platforms and so many ways we could connect with people: YouTube, Facebook, conference calls like this. So it's important, but we're here because you are here. And I have to say that we've had so many people that have really written me. They let me know that their lives were saved. They were on the verge of committing suicide, but they listen into the 6 screens, and all the people that call into the programs encourage them so much. They were so thankful for that. And they write me all the time saying the people calling in, that really makes the program. So don't be a stranger. Call us up. Let us know that you're listening to the program. We'd love to hear from you. Friends, I want to say one thing too. We are seeing so many things happening right now in the Watchtower organization. It really is falling apart big time. And it's not just me saying that. I've known the Watchtower is in trouble for many years now. And I was disfellowship back in 2005. But a lot of things have happened since then. And you're going to hear some things here tonight that you're going to sit back and you're going to enjoy this program, because I got a lot of things we're going to be sharing with you that can be really encouraging. It's good to know that an organization that has treated us so badly, controlled us from the cradle to the grave, it's so encouraging to see them falling on their rear end. It's encouraging to see that. And I know that you agree with me. So, speak up tonight if you can. We'll get right in with it. Let's see where we get going. Let me just check a few things. Okay, just checking Facebook. We're on Facebook, we're on YouTube, on the video suite. Everything seems to be running pretty good. So let's get into it. Let's take a look at our news and let's see what's going on behind the curtains of the Watchtower. The biggest story this week, and I hope you all saw it. Now, it was on jw.org, but also letters went out to some of the congregations that the governing body of Jehovah's Witnesses announced that they have invited selected branches to participate in a pilot program to resume some in-person congregation meetings. All right, there we go. So right off the bat, they're saying, well, some of the branches. Now, don't everyone get up and say, oh, here they go, Rick, they're all going back to the meetings. No, they're not. We got a lot to discuss here tonight. As the news was saying, we got a lot to unpack on this story. So some of the branches are participating, select kingdom halls in some of these areas where vaccination rates are high and infection rates are low. Of course, the witnesses are going to open kingdom halls in those areas first. I'm reading this right from jw.org. Now, of course, all aspects of this project will be carried out in harmony with the local government regulations for indoor gatherings. The announcement was read to the Bethel families around the world on Friday, October 15th, 2021. Well, that was just yesterday, right? So this announcement came out yesterday, and it was read to the Bethel family all around the world. And this is all new, right up to date here. Now, the results of this pilot program, this is what the Watchtower is saying, the results of this private program will determine if additional congregations can be approved to resume meeting in person. The announcement also stated that in general, in-person organizational activities will remain suspended until at least January 1st, 2022. Okay, so they're saying evidently even in some of these areas where they're going to have this pilot program of opening up kingdom halls, then they're not going to go out and field service. There's going to be no activities other than some of these halls will reopen. No service. It says we greatly appreciate the governing body's care for the worldwide brotherhood in their measured approach to resuming organizational activities. Please pray for Jehovah to continue guiding the witnesses and, of course, blessings on these arrangements. Well, I'm going to tell you, I don't know if they're going to have blessings or not. There's a lot that we're going to discuss with this. Now, there's also some other letters. This was right off of jw.org. I got it today. It was just posted up last night, evidently, or maybe early this morning. So there's also, I want to read you another letter, a 4-page letter, and I'm going to go through this. This is kind of more in detail. And this was written to some of the areas where the Jehovah's Witnesses are going to open up their kingdom halls. So let's take a look at this letter, and I'm going to read it to you. And it's dated October 15th, 2021. Now, this letter went out to selected congregations, evidently, or maybe to the world. It doesn't say, but it basically is going to the congregations that will be reopening to some degree. So anyways, it says here, a pilot program to resume in-person meetings in selected location. So after much prayerful consideration, we are pleased to inform you that starting the week of November 1st, 2021, selected congregations in Hong Kong are invited to participate in a pilot program to resume in-person meetings at Kingdom Halls. So like I say, they're doing this in selected areas, just selected areas. An announcement has been provided to you to read to the congregation on this matter to ensure the safety of one another and protect Jehovah's name. It is vital to carefully adhere to the following instructions and maintain good communication with the branch office if questions or problems arise. So here we go. We now are going to open some Kingdom Halls in Hong Kong. I would like to see some being open here in the United States, but it doesn't look that way. But in Hong Kong, of all places. So get a load of this. Some of the things that are going to have to take place here. The approval to resume in-person meetings at Kingdom Halls will be based on whether the measures outlined in this announcement can be implemented, that is, by your congregation. If your body of elders believes that some measures cannot be implemented in time for November 1st, please state this in your reply to the branch office. So they want to open up by, I guess, November 1st, but you have to follow these very, very strict guidelines. Well, let's consider some of these guidelines, and I think you're going to get a kick out of this. Boy, I'll tell you, talk about control. But we're talking about this letter went to the Hong Kong branch. So they're opening some Kingdom Halls November 1st, 2021 in the Hong Kong area. Now it says here, considerations when arranging for meetings and inviting publishers. Now get a load of all of this. I'm reading the letter once again. It says each Kingdom Hall will be used at a maximum seating capacity of 50%. Please refer to the attached chart for a list of maximum seating for each property. So here we go. So if you have 100 people in your Kingdom Hall in Hong Kong, you can only have 50 come in there. So they're cutting back the maximum seating to 50%. And so if you have 50 in a congregation, you can only have 25. Friends, do you smell something that's not right here? I'm thinking they're so concerned when they open up Kingdom Halls that a lot of the witnesses aren't going to return. And now they have an excuse. Well, we only are letting 50% come. There's only room for 50%. Nobody else can come in. Now, the body of elders, back to the letter, the body of elders should verify that only fully vaccinated publishers are invited to attend meetings at the Kingdom Hall. The term fully vaccinated means that the individual has received 2 doses of a COVID-19 vaccine and 2 weeks have passed since their second dose. Interested persons of Bible studies should not be invited to attend at the Kingdom Hall at this time. As an example of how publishers may be invited, the body of elders may arrange field service groups on a rotational basis to attend meetings in person along with those who have meeting assignments. So, in other words, the service groups that would meet for service, even though they're not going out, they're doing it on Zoom, they would make arrangements for who could come to the meeting. So 50% only. Now listen to this. Unvaccinated children of publishers should not be invited to attend in-person meetings at the Kingdom Hall at this time. If the entire family cannot attend the meetings together, each family head will need to decide whether some fully vaccinated family members will deliver their meeting parts in person or using Zoom. All fully vaccinated full-time servants, that is, in the field, including circuit overseers, are permitted to attend in-person meetings at the Kingdom Hall. At this time, Bethelites are not permitted. So Bethelites, they're not going to be permitted to go to the halls when they open here on November 1st, wherever they're opening. I'm reading a letter here from the Hong Kong branch. I don't know how many Bethelites there are in Hong Kong, but I'm not sure why they're not letting Bethelites attend. There's something crazy going on, isn't it? Don't you smell something crazy going on here? It really is something. Then it goes on, the 3 or 4 page letter here, but I want to discuss it with you because it's very, very interesting. We've had so many people here in the last 18 months ask if Jehovah's Witnesses will be going back to the meetings. Now, it says here on page 2, please respect the wishes of publishers who are fully vaccinated but prefer not to attend in-person meetings at the Kingdom Hall at this time. No one should feel pressured to attend the meetings in person if they feel uncomfortable doing so. Let's stop right there. I want to analyze this for a second. I want you just to think about it as well. Now, just think about this. So it says, uh, respect the wishes of publishers who are fully vaccinated but prefer not to attend the meetings. Now, I mean, if you don't want to go to a meeting, all you have to say is, well, I can't go. I'm not vaccinated, or I can't go because I don't feel comfortable. So they're saying to respect the wishes. Friends, this is another way to keep people away from the Kingdom Hall with a reason. Oh, well, our Kingdom Halls aren't really full because we can only have 50% capacity. Well, some of the publishers, they don't feel comfortable coming. How come everything always plays in favor of the Watchtower? I don't get it. And no one should be pressured to attend the meetings in person. So, anyways, it goes on and says, any who are not in attendance at the Kingdom Hall can tie in by Zoom. Those with meeting assignments who are not fully vaccinated or capable to be invited to the Kingdom Hall may conduct their parts by Zoom. Further instructions will be provided to each congregation regarding the setup of Zoom with in-person meetings. Please do not purchase any additional equipment for this purpose. Okay, congregations should only use their assigned Kingdom Hall. Please do not arrange to use another property without first seeking approval from the branch. So don't go out renting a building or doing it in a school or someone's home, only at the Kingdom Hall. And congregation should not use a Kingdom Hall to view the assembly program. The entire assembly program can be watched on Zoom, is what they're saying. All right. So, boy, there's like a 4-page letter. I know they're panic stricken. The Watchtower is panic stricken about opening up Kingdom Halls. They know darn well there's not going to be a lot of people showing up, but they've got to do it. They're being pressured. A lot of the witnesses are saying, why can't we open the Kingdom Halls? Even though many don't want to go, but they're asking that question. We see the churches all open. I drive by the churches here in Massachusetts, and I see all these cars in the parking lot. They're all open on Sunday. So what's going on with the witnesses? Well, let's continue on here. Let's also talk about this. It says precautions when using the Kingdom Hall. Oh, it says in harmony with government regulations, the body of elders in each congregation must keep a written log of each meeting with the following information of each attendee: the name, the contact numbers, date and time of visit. This log should be kept in a secure location at the Kingdom Hall for 31 days in the event of the need to trace anyone that might have had COVID in the hall. They want to contact these people. They're doing that in restaurants too. You see it. So look at all the extra work. Geez, you got to keep a name, contact, numbers, when you came to the Kingdom Hall, all of this. And it says all publishers, listen to this. This is crazy. All publishers, they who are attending the meetings at the Kingdom Hall must wear a face mask. The body of elders may choose to have a small supply of face masks at the Kingdom Hall for emergency use. Well, that's another thing. I mean, they're kind of stingy on that. So you have to wear your own mask. But if you show up, you forgot your mask under an emergency use program here, they'll be able to give you a mask. Now, in general, it is not the responsibility of the congregation to provide face masks to each attendee. Wow. Now, it says here, before entering the Kingdom Hall, publishers should have their temperature checked and asked if they had any cold or flu-like symptoms. If they are feeling unwell, they should be asked to return home to seek medical attention and not enter the Kingdom Hall. Look at the added burden, the added work that's going to have to take place opening these Kingdom Halls. Now, okay, well, if you want to speak up, well, go ahead, Anne-Marie.
Yeah, I just was wondering, I'm assuming that a sister would be assigned to take people's temperature since it's considered perhaps a kind of a demeaning duty. And brothers certainly don't like demeaning duties like cleaning toilets and taking people's temperatures and asking medical questions like a lowly nurse. Thank you, Rick.
Yeah, well, that's an interesting. I didn't think of it in that direction. That's interesting, Anne Marie. So you're going to have your temperature checked as you're coming in the Kingdom Hall. If you have a temperature, if it's higher than what's normal, you got to send you home. Now, also, uh, entering the Kingdom Hall, publishers should wash their hands with soap for at least 20 seconds or have their hands sanitized. I'm telling you, they're going to count. They'll have someone watching you. Okay, are you washing your hands for 20 seconds? Don't know. You can't enter. And they're going to be watching for 20 seconds. I can just see they love control. I mean, they want to control you from the cradle to the grave. They're going to take full advantage of controlling you during this crisis. Now, also, it says here no eating, no drink is permitted inside the Kingdom Hall, and any water dispensers inside the halls should not be used. Now, this one I got a kick out of. This one I got a real kick out of. I found it kind of fascinating. Microphones should be attached to boom bars to limit the number of publishers handling the same microphone. The boom bars and microphones should be disinfected before and after each meeting. Can you see the added work here? You got to disinfect the boom bars for the microphones and disinfect the microphones as well. And then get a load of this. Get a load of this. Those with assignments have the option of taking their mask off to deliver their part from the platform. Each participant should disinfect the microphone after use if they remove their mask for their assignment. However, mask worn, if you wear your mask on the stage, you don't have to disinfect the microphone. Can you imagine that? So after a talk, if you're doing on the stage and you didn't wear your mask, you got to take some, I don't know, alcohol or disinfectant or whatever and kind of wipe over the microphone. Oh, they're going to make sure you do it. You're not going to leave the stage without them going, come on, hey, Brother Farron, get back there. Wipe that microphone off. I'm telling you, that's how it's going to be. Those with assignments have the option of taking the mask off to deliver their part. All right, well, we just read that one, so that's okay. Now, after each meeting, get a load of this now. The Kingdom Hall should be thoroughly cleaned and disinfected for the next congregation. If possible, the window should be open between meetings to allow fresh air to circulate in the hall. So after each meeting, the Kingdom Halls have to be thoroughly cleaned and disinfected. Boy, would you want to be a witness going back? So you just spent an hour and 45 minutes for a Kingdom Hall meeting, and now you're going to spend another hour. That's what they're expecting, and to spend an hour cleaning up because they're giving you an hour to do it, and you got to get out of there. All right, let's read the next. Can you believe all this? This is unreal. A 4-page letter with instructions on how you ought to come back and meet in the Kingdom Hall. Now, I know that, as many saying, well, it's good they're doing this, Rick. Yeah, well, I can understand. I mean, if people have COVID or they're sick, they shouldn't, they should do this. But I mean, don't you think the witnesses are going to take full advantage of this? They're not doing that in the churches. You can walk in most churches without getting your temperature checked, without wearing a mask. Yeah, it goes further. Let's continue on. Publishers should vacate the Kingdom Hall within 60 minutes of the conclusion of the meeting. There should be limited or no contact with the next congregation attending the meeting. So if you got another congregation coming in after your meeting, Get out of there and get out of there fast. They want you out in 60 minutes. They want you to clean the hall and go. So there's going to be an hour and a half from what I can see by the time the next congregation would come in. And please ensure that funds from the contribution box, they got to mention this. Please ensure that funds from the contribution box at the Kingdom Hall are collected at the conclusion of each meeting. Please ensure proper hand hygiene is practiced. Well, why do they have to put that in there? Make sure the funds are collected from the contribution box. I don't know, just a way to get people thinking they got to put money back in the box, I guess. And then it says field service meetings may be conducted at the Kingdom Hall immediately after the congregation meeting. However, the congregation should not arrange for in-person ministry. All right, so, they can arrange for field service, but they have to do it at Zoom and they got to get out of the hall. Okay, you're on with us, New York. What do you have to say?
Rick, I was just thinking, remember a couple of weeks or months ago, I shared the experience that in 67 and 68, we had the convention in Washington, D.C., and for all 4 days, the toilets weren't working, but yet they held the assembly. That they did, but now you got to wash hands, and it doesn't matter if you come, to the meetings and all this. What happened? Wow, what a difference. They had a district assembly, 4 days, no running water in Washington, D.C. I remember that for a fact. But now, wash hands. I mean, I know that, with the virus, I know people are doing it, but now they said, if you don't want to come to the meetings, that's all right. And 22nd, was it the 22nd rule or whatever and all this? Wow, what a difference.
Oh, what a difference. In fact, I'm reading some of the YouTube comments. I'm getting a chuckle out of it. So some of the people are saying, are they going to disinfect the donation box? Well, they're saying,
money, you can't disinfect the money because
no.
it'll get wet and,
Yeah, so it says,
how are we going to do that?
So all money is clean in the eyes of the Watchtower. But, they're hey, listen, the money could have a lot of germs on it too, right? But there's
exactly.
nothing being said about that. Yeah, isn't that funny? And then one person writes,
they've been laundering their money for years, though.
Oh, well,
Yeah, that's right.
Randy, you should have been a comedian. Yes, they have been laundering it. But one person's writing on YouTube here, they should disinfect the elders. Yes, they should. They need to be disinfected. Okay, Ron,
Hey, Rick, I've retired from all of it. But the real question now is, do we gargle with Listerine, which is a good idea, or do we gargle with some of that whiskey?
I'd go with the whiskey. Yeah.
Hey, Rick.
Yes.
And since Kingdom Halls have windows.
Yeah. Well, they don't have windows to open to circulate. You're right. Okay, go ahead. You're on with us.
Rick.
Yes.
I just got on, I'm sorry to ask you this, but I'm just wondering if you've received the most recent update on the Watchtower stand on the vaccine, whether or not to receive the vaccine.
Yeah, I have. Yeah, I mean, how recent are you talking?
Well, I just listened to the meeting a couple of nights ago, to a portion of the meeting, because I never listened to the entire meeting. But I try to listen for the announcement, so I'll keep current on what's going on. But I'm sure if you've heard it already, you know that they're now telling the witnesses to get the vaccine, and this would be in harmony with, is it Romans 13, where the superior authorities, what they're telling us is not in opposition, the witnesses is not in opposition to Jehovah's standards.
Yes.
That we're to follow their direction. So they are now telling the witnesses to get that vaccine. They're no longer leaving it up to their so-called, personal opinion.
Right. Well, yes, indeed.
Yeah.
That's exactly right. They
They had a small part at the end about medical exemption when at the bottom of the letter.
Yeah, but they have Pixie. They in fact, what the sister's saying is correct. We read the letter. We had the letter. We read it a couple of weeks ago. They do want.
I'm not sure how to get the medical exemption. I'm going to ask my doctor in 2 weeks because I do have conditions.
Yeah, well, ask him. It might be hard to get a doctor to sign off for you to have an exemption. Most doctors, they want you to have the shot. They really do.
But anaphylaxis twice.
Yeah, I don't know what that would be, but maybe.
That means near death, and they had to give me stuff to get me back.
Wow. Well, maybe you could get an exemption on that. I mean, if you almost died a couple of times.
I mentioned a week or so ago that there's a hospital in Staten Island that was only given the only religion, because a woman wrote into the local paper here in New York. She's not a JW, but she works in a Staten Island hospital, and the only religious people that are getting the exemptions are Jehovah's Witnesses.
Yeah, well, there's many of them getting it. And
in a hospital, yeah, because New York, if you work in the medical field, you're supposed to have it. And this woman wrote in, like the letters to the editor thing. This woman wrote in that she works in this hospital here in New York, in Staten Island, and she tried for the religious exemption. But in her, I guess I don't know, just one hospital can do it in New York City. But she said the only religion that is getting it is Jehovah's Witnesses.
Well, that's something. But that sister you just called in, I say sister, she's still, well, she's a PMO. She's physically and mentally out. The sister was just on there a couple of minutes ago.
Right, yeah.
It's true that they are encouraging, that they, even though they're not coming out and putting a gun to your back, the way they are wording it, they want you to take the vaccination. They're saying all the Bethelites have been vaccinated, and they're saying that the government is kind of requiring, or at least mandating, we have it. So it's saying that, in fact, she's right. Romans 13 is where that is, that you must obey, the laws of the land and what have you, using that as a biblical scripture to try to support the position. But the thing is, we found out that some of these religions, some of these churches are getting paid. They are getting paid to endorse the vaccination. And I'm thinking Watchtower is standing in line, grabbing the money. I really do.
It sounds like exactly what they're doing, Rick, because the way they emphasized it on Thursday night, it was that they are telling them, you need to get that vaccine, because if you do not, you're in violation of Romans chapter 13. And they made that very clear.
Yeah, well, I got on the HHS, Health and Human Services website. That's a federal government website. And that, of course, states on there that certain groups and religions who encourage the vaccine can be paid money for encouraging it. And then I did some more research this week, and I also find out that some churches are getting upwards of $100 per person if they encourage them to get the vaccine. So
then how is this hospital in Staten Island? I mean, it can't be the only one in New York. I mean, it's New York City. Staten Island is a part of New York City. There must be some kind of brother or somebody that works there that talks and said, oh, we need an exemption. That's just not right. That's not right.
Well, our next story coming up, and we read it here last week, is we talked about elders, if they didn't follow the Watchtower direction, and if they didn't, if they brought up not to get the vaccine or encourages witnesses not to take it, they were going to be reprimanded. And now the next news story I got coming up after this, we now hear that it's been reported 600 elders have been deleted.
Wow.
Yeah.
Hey, Rick.
Yes.
Hey, your question from last week. They are picking on me. They are going through my wife, trying to tell me to stop talking to you guys and quit talking to all the other ex-witnesses and everything else. And, the doggonest thing is they think that they can go through my wife to get through me. I went and I told them guys that were saying this to my wife. I flat out told them, I said, say something this crazy again, I'm going to cause a lawsuit.
Yeah.
And I'm going to tell you, they told her not. I should not believe in any what you guys are saying and what you guys are not saying. I shouldn't be bothered with them. They're apostates and they don't know what the hell they're talking about. And that's what that one guy said to me. And I said, the crying shame of it all is you can't even talk to the people that left your own religious beliefs and you can't talk to them. That's called a form of mind control. I did that in front of 3 other men. And they about had a heart attack. Because they knew that they thought I was going to fold. And me, I don't fold too much. But I'll let you go. And that other guy, I would love to talk to him offline.
Yeah. Well, thank you, David. Thank you for checking in with us. Thank you very much, David. All right, let's take a look. Let's go back and see what else is going on in this letter. Like I say, the letter is something else, really something else. Let me get down here. Let's see where we are. All right. Okay, so let's go back to where we were. You got to be sent home if you have a fever. We talked about that. Publishes. Well, I guess we're pretty much through it. So you can see all the regulations that they want you to go through, all the things that you have to do just to get to a meeting. So that's what's going on right now. That was the biggest story this week, really, when you stop and think about it. That was the biggest story this week. But I'll tell you what, the thing that really got me is cleaning the microphone, spending a time deep cleaning the Kingdom Hall. My goodness, we all know we spent a lot of time doing that when we were witnesses, right? And now you can just imagine how much more time it's going to take. Well, you're on JW World News. That's the news the Watchtower doesn't want you talking about, but we're talking about it here tonight. But the thing is, in Hong Kong, yes.
Real quick, this is Thomas Hodson here in Lawrence, Kansas. Listen to all this stuff that they're mandating, I guess you could say, is enough to about drive anybody into mental illness. I mean, this is insane. All these little things they got to do and all the hoops they got to go through. No wonder the Jehovah's Witnesses are so mentally ill and commit suicide. Right there, just a prime example of why.
Yes. Yes. I mean, it's just amazing. Other churches aren't doing this, Thomas. They're really not. They're taking this to the nth degree. I mean, they are really, but I know why they're doing it. It's so easy to see why they're doing it, because they want to keep these numbers down. They don't want to, really, there's not going to be a lot of people going back. So this is a way they can say, well, look, we cut the numbers. People are sick. People have, haven't been vaccinated. This is a great way to kind of test the waters and see how many more people are going to come back to the Kingdom Halls when they open them up, because you know it and I know it. There's so many that don't want to. And then also, I've been reading online this week, when this news came out that they're starting to open Kingdom Halls, a lot of the people who are PMOs, people who are physically in but mentally out, they were so upset. Boy, some of them were saying they're going to have a heart attack. Some of them were just saying they don't want to go back. They like the way it's been. So a lot of them are just really showing disgust on returning back to the Kingdom Halls. So they're going to have some serious problems filling those Kingdom Halls, I'll tell you that. And then this letter, this 4-page letter, I just read portions of it to you. Hong Kong? Come on. Hong Kong? I mean, why not America? Why not America? But Hong Kong is one of the places where they're going to open up. They're going to open up the Kingdom Halls. You want to say something? You're on with us. Go ahead.
Hi, Rick. This is Constance.
Yes, Constance.
Hi, dear. I just chimed in here. I was going to ask you, Rick, what did you say? Were there 60 others that were deleted for not getting the jab, or 600? How many did you say?
600. That's been reported here to the 6th screen. So we're going to talk about that next.
Wow.
We're going to talk about that next. Yeah.
Okay, dear.
Yeah, so
Okay, thank you.
well, you're welcome, Constance. So there you have it. So we're now seeing that in some areas of the world, it doesn't appear to be anywhere in America. I haven't seen anything yet. Nobody's been posting anything here tonight or this week. But Hong Kong is one of the branches, and I think some parts of Australia, but I'm not sure on that. But I think some parts of Australia too are also going to open up. But nothing here in America. So, friends, don't worry about it. And according to the letter that I just read, they're not going to really open any here in America to at least January 2022. So you still have a few months of relaxing, but even friends, look at this would be so easy to stop going to the meetings without being disfellowshipped or being chastised. Just tell them you don't feel comfortable. You don't feel comfortable going back to the meetings. There's nothing they can do to you. So I think this is a great way for a lot to just say, toodaloo, toodaloo, Watchtower, I'm out of here. Boy, I'll tell you what, where was the COVID virus when we all needed it? I mean, really, think about it. I would love to use that as an excuse, but a lot of witnesses will be using it as an excuse. Okay, I'm going to talk this next. Any other thoughts on this vaccination at all, and on what you have to do to go to the meetings if you are going to attend?
Yeah. Hello, Mr. Farron.
Yes, sir. Ken from Michigan. Yes, sir.
Yeah. We they closed down the Kingdom Halls, and then they come back on Zoom with a bunch of restrictions. Now they're going to open the Kingdom Halls again, or in some places, with a bunch of restrictions and so forth. And all this is translated into loss of membership and hemorrhaging of the members and so forth. Some people not going back. And then how they expect to get back to normal again by putting more restrictions on people that they're getting tired of it. And I think like it's been brought up several times before, people are getting a taste of what freedom really is and what freedom's really like. And I don't expect it to get back to normal ever, which I'm thankful for. I hope that this is just some more nails in the coffin of the Watchtower. So, but I mean, the way they're talking on that, how do you expect something like that to work?
Well, no, that's a good thought. That's a darn good thought, Ken, what you're raising. I mean, you're up there in Michigan. People are resuming church meetings, but the Watchtower is doing this in a way that's making it very difficult to return. And I can tell you right now, as I just said just a little bit ago, that this is a great way for people not to return to the meetings.
Yeah, I agree, and I just hope that's what happens.
Good. Well, thank you, Ken.
Yeah, thank you. We'll keep listening.
How you feeling, by the way?
Oh, I'm feeling a little bit better right now. Still under the weather, and I'm feeling a little bit better, getting back to normal again. The doctor took me off of a couple medications, and that had a lot of side effects on me and so forth. I'm still going to the doctor on average of once a week here until I get feeling better. But right along, I'm moving right along here. So.
Well, excellent. Well, I'm glad to have you on with us tonight. Thank you, Ken.
Okay, one more thing too. I just want to let you know I didn't get on any earlier. I got a hold of Jay.
Yeah.
And I talked to him a little bit, and it's just about usual. He's holding his own, and he's still got hopes of going back home again, but nothing is happening yet on that. But he's doing not too bad, and kind of holding his own there.
Well, good. Thank you for giving us an update on that. Thank you, Ken. All right. Well, let's see.
You're welcome. We'll keep listening.
Thank you. Well, we got more going on here tonight. More going on. I want to report to you guys that it's being reported. Now, I can't confirm it, but we have to talk about things that seem like it could be happening. Even though I can't confirm it, I'm going to go on the record to say it is being reported, and I believe it. I believe it. You don't have to believe it, but I'm believing it, that 600 elders are being deleted or removed due to speaking about the governing body vaccination message. And the governing body vaccination message is get the vaccine. That's the message. But there are some elders that are saying they're not going to get it, and they're not encouraging the witnesses to get it. So, friends, the governing body are getting more totalitarian all the time. This is what you're supposed to do. If you don't do it, you're in trouble. Now, I don't believe this number is a bunch of BS. I really don't. I think this number's got to be put out there. In fact, I'm even thinking the number could be higher. But I'm thinking that this number could be being used to scare the other elders into compliance. But either way, the organization I'm saying is acting like China or North Korea lately. They really are tightening up the knot. They are really tightening up control. And friends, stop and think about this for 1 second, please. Just think about this. 600 people, 600 elders. It's not that much. It's really not. That's only like one elder for every 2 congregation. That's nothing. So I believe 600. I believe it's probably even more. And, I'm thinking when I read stories like this and I hear stories like that, deleting and removing 600 elders, I'm really, and I mentioned this before on the 6 screens a lot of times, and we've been doing it for 16 years, but the last couple of years, I've been thinking this. I'm tapping my head. I'm trying to let you guys aware of something here. I'm honestly starting to think that the Watchtower is purposefully trying to burn the Jehovah's Witness organization to the ground. I'm getting that feeling. I really, really am. I get this feeling they could give 2 hoots of beans about anybody in the Watchtower. And I know that's always been the case, but it's almost like they are really trying to purify the congregations. And what do I mean by that? I think that they know there's a lot of PMOs, people who are physically in, mentally out. They know there's tons of them, and they monitor websites, and they monitor our call here too. There's trolls in here right now listening to what we do every Saturday night. And so I think the organization, I'm just thinking out loud. I mean, don't take it to the bank and cash it because I don't know for sure. But I'm thinking the organization may be trying to purify the congregations. They're very much the same thing that Jim Jones did with the People's Temple. Those that weren't going to be totally adherent, those that weren't going to follow all the dictates of Jim Jones, he kicked them out. And, he did a mass suicide on them. Now, I'm not saying there's going to be a mass suicide, but I see patterns here developing. They're trying to purify the congregations, only keep the loyal of the most loyal in. Really, there's going to be a lot of elders that will need to be removed due to the participation of. Now, this is another thought I've got. Right now, the Watchtower, as you know, and I know I'm preaching to the choir, but the Watchtower, as you know, right now has many, many elders involved in child molestation. It hasn't even, we don't even see it all yet, but the Watchtower knows who they are more than we even think. And another thought came to my mind. Could this be like a bait and switch? Could the Watchtower say, oh boy, here's a chance to get rid of some of our elders that are involved in child molestation, child sexual abuse? Could we, maybe we'll just get rid of them, and then we don't have to worry about, the law coming down on us for having them. That's an idea too. I'm just thinking out loud. I don't know. Maybe they're looking for an excuse to remove them so they won't bring more attention to the child sexual abuse issues. So it's like in business, right? In business, sometimes people are fired, and it's not really for the reason that they're being fired. It's for another reason. So this could be the case, friends. I'm just thinking out loud. I don't know. But so much foolishness is coming out of the Watchtower's mouth lately. It's hard to really know for sure exactly what's going on. But I do believe that 600 elders. Now, how would that even happen? How is it that where could this be? Are you in a congregation? Are some of your elders being deleted? But you see, what would happen here is they would want to get this message out. That this message would be important to get out to all the congregations. So those elders that are not participating and encouraging people to get vaccinated, they're gonna get the axe. So the elders, I'm sure, are saying, geez, we better stop talking about the vaccinations and start encouraging them. That's a possibility. I don't know. I'm not sure. Well, you're on JW World News. My goodness, we have news every week we bring you. There's no end to it. There's no end to it at all. And, as I go through, I try to pick out the top stories for the week. But the top story for the week this week had to deal with that letter in opening Kingdom Halls, and the witnesses aren't that happy about it, believe me. And then we're talking about 600 elders being, well, at least the reports coming in here, being deleted and removed. And then also I come across something else this week I found very fascinating as well and very informative. What's up with the Jehovah's Witnesses in Australia? It seems like everywhere I look, people in Australia are waking up. I have a Facebook group here that I'm administrator of. It's Australia Facebook group. And I have to tell you something. People are waking up big time in there. Hey, we got another caller. Come on in, caller.
Hey, Rick, just a thought. It's more than excuse me. It's more than plausible what you're talking about, getting rid of 600 elders because they won't promote the shot. They're getting rid of cops in Chicago, and Chicago is crime-ridden, but they're still getting rid of the cops. They're getting rid of military people that won't take the shots. I mean, these are the elite, Marine Corps recon, Navy, the Navy
SEALs
and stuff like that. They're getting rid of a lot of people that are important to our society. I do believe what you're saying is more than plausible.
Yeah, I mean, I know I'm going to get flack from that. People are going to say, well, how do you know that? Well, I got information that came here to the 6th Grange, and the information was brought to me as a circuit overseer. A circuit overseer mentioned it in a congregation that he was in, that 600 elders had been deleted. So I trust the source, I do, but sometimes I like to verify everything, but I can't. But then when I look at it, I'm saying, no, just like what you said, Jesus, like how many, 1,000 cops, I think it is in Chicago, that are being deleted. Why wouldn't it happen in the Watchtower? So, I thank you, Dick. That was a very good comment. Very, very good. Thank you. So what's up in Australia? My goodness gracious. What is going on in Australia? So many witnesses are leaving. It's really remarkable. And I'm only attributing to one thing. I could be wrong, but I'm only attributing all these witnesses that are waking up in Australia to the Royal Commission. I believe that had something to do with this. Really, in Australia, many Jehovah's Witnesses are leaving their religion, according to the information that I have here from national newspapers. Not only Jehovah's Witnesses, but evidently even Muslims and other branches of Christianity, they're leaving in droves. Yeah, so I was just curious to know what's going on down under in particular. But I tell you what, the Royal Commission, I believe, has been a game changer. I really do. I mean, the Australian government, as everyone would know in Australia, they're not perfect by any means, but the Royal Commission is a game changer. They left no stone unturned, and laid bare the corruption in all of these religions, all of them, not just Jehovah's Witnesses, but also Catholicism and other religions that have been under investigation in the United Kingdom. The sad thing is that most Jehovah's Witnesses will never know what happened 6 years ago. That's the problem. We know it. We know what happened 6 years ago. The witnesses today, they don't want to even look at it. But one thing I have learned, I want to share this with you. I did a little research in Australia. I didn't know much about what goes on over there for religion, but I do know the witnesses are tanking. But Australia is not an overly religious country. Did you know that? I kind of knew it, but I never really looked into it. Religion isn't built into the foundation of Australia as it is in other countries. So obviously, when the Royal Commission came out and chastised the Catholic Church, chastised the Jehovah's Witnesses, that didn't do any good for people wanting to connect with Christianity, even though the witnesses aren't Christian. So while Christianity is declining in Australia, it still makes up the bulk of the religious landscape. In other words, there are more Christians still in Australia. And then Muslims and Buddhists and Hindus is the fastest growing faiths in Australia. But I did not realize totally how far behind on religious activity the Australians were. So I'm going to say this, there's been polls taken, about 45% of reporting Australians say they have no religion. 45% of Australians reporting no religion. So that's almost 50% of the population. They don't have any religion at all. So, that's something to think about. There's not much going on. And the Royal Commission, in my mind, really has taken away a lot of it. When you see all these newspaper reports and television reports showing how religion has really involved themselves in child sex abuse and how they've involved themselves in covering it all up, how could you have faith in religion? You really can't. Now, let me just give you a little update here on America. About 45%, as we say, Australians, they don't have any religion. Close to 50% of the people in Australia, they don't have a religion. I don't know what they believe in. But in 2019, a survey was taken by Pew here in the United States. Christians, well, they represent 65%. So 65% of the adult population identify themselves as Christians. Now, of course, there's other religious groups too. So we're a very religious country. We have other religious groups, but 65% of all of the population of America claims to be Christian. So that's an interesting little stat there. I wanted to bring that to your attention. A lot of people who aren't finding out about Jehovah's Witnesses, they still think the witnesses are good. But more and more people are finding out about the witnesses, and they want nothing to do with the witnesses. They're pushing back against the witnesses. So that's an interesting thought. Go ahead, Anne Marie. I think you're in from California. Go ahead. Well,
no, I just wondered how many of that 65% who claim to be Christian in America. I was just trying to figure in my head how many of those claim to be Jehovah's Witnesses and how many of those who claim to be Jehovah's Witnesses are really believing in their organization. But either way, how many of those who say they're Christian are actually either of the Watchtower or Mormon or Seventh-day Adventist, and none of those three are Christian at all, unfortunately.
All right. Well, I do have some stats on that if you want that. So in America, 65% of the American populace say that they are Christian. 43% identifying themselves as Protestant, 20% as Catholic, 2% as Mormon, And so we have to, well, the Jehovah's Witnesses don't even show up here. So they're so minuscule.
There are less than 1 million Jehovah's Witnesses in the United States.
That's right. So they don't even show up here on our Pew scale, our Pew report as being part. I mean, I'm sure they're there, but it's a fraction, I'm sure. So, but many people. The reason why I even brought this out tonight is I'm trying to show you what happens when you get negative news, like in Australia, in the Australia Royal Commission. It did a job on the witnesses. And not only the witnesses, it did a job on a lot of the other churches as well. People are losing faith in their churches. They're losing faith in their religions, and understandably so. When you're reading all of these newspaper articles and television documentaries about how these churches are covering up child molestation, why wouldn't you? Really? I mean, and you're seeing this. I mean, you'd have to force yourself to be under a rock to ignore all of this. It's all coming out. The Catholic Church, the Jehovah's Witnesses, it's opening people's eyes to the dangers of religion. Really? I mean, I'm not gonna sit here and tell you that every church is bad, but I am gonna sit here and tell you that, and you've heard it before. I know I'm preaching to the choir. You guys heard it a million times. You have to have a relationship. I know it's a beat to death statement, but you have to have a relationship with Jesus. And you're not going to find Jesus in a lot of these churches, including the Jehovah's Witnesses. It's just not going to happen. All right, you're on with us, JW World News. We do it every Saturday night. Boy, I'll tell you, I don't know, that the Watchtower just keeps coming out saying things that it's like putting their foot in their mouth. And that's what keeps JW World News alive every Saturday night. But, I got another story here I want to talk about. And then this one, really, it's quite disturbing. It's quite disturbing. A former elder caught videoing Jehovah's Witness in his bathroom. Now, they call them voyeurs, video voyeurs. And we have a former Jehovah's Witness elder who was caught videoing Jehovah's Witness sisters in his bathroom. How disgusting is that? I mean, the first thing I thought of is the Holy Spirit sure knows how to appoint some outstanding men. I mean, the Watchtower will tell you that Jehovah's Spirit that is at work when they appoint these men. But really, think about it. A man that's videoing women in the bathroom? How sick is that? In fact, it's in Australia. A Sunshine Coast man being given a suspended sentence for secretly filming 6 women using his bathroom over 3 years. Brother Jamie Stephen Cutts, 41 years old, invited people from his church group to his home on several occasions between January 2018 and March 2021 and set up his phone in a bag in the bathroom to film women. Yeah, a Jehovah's Witness elder. Oh, you love the elders? Oh, you go and confess to them all your sins, all the things you did wrong? This guy's setting up a camera or his phone, taking pictures of women in his bathroom. Now, his crimes came to light when one woman noticed the phone. She saw the videos on it and realized that she had been filmed. She then transferred some videos to her own phone before confronting Brother Cutts about it. Oh, can you imagine that? This is not an isolated case. I'm going to share a personal story with you when I'm done here. This is not an isolated case. So anyways, the man, the elder, the Jehovah's Witness, the Christian man, he pleaded guilty to 10 charges of making observations of recording in breach of a person's privacy. It's a crime. It's a crime. People expect privacy in the bathroom. Don't you? You want to go in the bathroom and be filmed? That's the last place you want to be filmed. Prosecutor David Hoffman told the court that going to the bathroom is one place that every person in the community should expect privacy. Never should a person expect they will be filmed. Yeah. Mr. Hoffman, the prosecutor, he said that the women would never be, would forever, he said the women would forever be affected by the crime. And that is certainly true. Mr. Hoffman, the prosecutor, described the recordings as a premeditated crime. This wasn't something, he didn't leave his phone in the bathroom by mistake. He put the phone in there to take pictures of these sisters. How disgusting. On one occasion, he asked the victim to wait before she used the toilet so he could put the phone in and press record. So it's all premeditated. Isn't that something? Oh my goodness. 41-year-old elder pleaded guilty. The attorney for the elder, he said, well, you know, Mr. Cutts, Brother Cutts, he immediately pleaded guilty at the first opportunity. And so they're saying, you know, they should cut him some slack, which they did. And I'll tell you what he got for a sentence. But they said that, you know, Mr. Cutts, Brother Cutts, oh, Brother Cutts, the elder, you know, he admitted that he was guilty. So because he did that, you shouldn't really prosecute him. Do you realize the psychological impact? The profound psychological impact that this could have on a person being filmed in a bathroom? Do you realize what this would do? I mean, really, it could really create some issues in a person's life. But, you know, for all of the problems that he caused to these women, the judge, and this is what I don't even get, the judge was a woman. The judge was a woman. And she gave Brother Cutts a 6-month prison sentence, suspended for 18 months. So he didn't have to go to jail, with an 18-month period of probation where he would be required to get counseling. Well, maybe he had to go to jail for 6 months, but I mean that's not even enough in my book. It's not even enough. A premeditated crime that goes on causing trauma to multiple victims only gets 6 months. Yes. Now, also, this is not the first case. I get more to talk about here. I hate to talk about this stuff, but it happens. There's a lot of Jehovah's Witness voyeurs. I'm talking about voyeurs. I'm talking about peeping Toms. I'm talking about men that are going around looking in windows at women. I'm talking about men that are taking their phone and looking up females' skirts. Yeah, this is sick. In the Watchtower, another story we read here a while back, a few years ago. How about the man who was arrested, who was a Jehovah's Witness, for taking secret videos of young female students? He worked in a school, and he was actually using his phone to look up the skirts of women in the school, young girls. A witness. Can you imagine? He wasn't even just fellowshipped. He wasn't even reproved. They just said, leave it in Jehovah's hands. How sick is that? You with us? Go ahead, Chewy, Oklahoma.
Yeah, this is not a witness related, but kind of ties in, and it kind of made an impact on me too after I kind of digested it and processed it. But where I work at, there was a guy that was there who was texting one of the employees for business purposes on his business phone. She would let him know how the work did. Oh, I sold a bunch of windows or whatever, you know. And I did the same thing when I was working there. Well, she got a text from her husband and said to send her a nudie picture, which I would never ask my wife to do that. She sent it. On her phone, she sent it to the wrong phone number. She sent it to her boss's phone number on his work phone. Well, he sent it out to several of the employees there where he worked at. And I said, now how sick, and they fired him. Boom, they found out, boom, he gone. How sick is that to put a woman's life or her life basically on display? On display. And that just kind of, if you can kind of just get your mind around, not that you want to dwell on it, but if you just want to, man, that would be sick. How would you like your life being put on display like that? And here we got this dude in here doing the bathroom thing. Now just think if your picture was out on the internet and it was nude, how you would feel, and then multiply that by being sexually abused when you're a kid. How would that feel? You see, that little snippet. Wow, and she actually quit the work. She went to work somewhere else because she couldn't stand the people. Hey, I wonder if he saw me. I wonder if he's one of the ones that got one of my pictures. It's sick. It's sick. I know that it's not witness related, but kind of puts it in perspective when a person's life is put on display like that.
Boy, I'll tell you, Chewy, but this is an ongoing problem. I've got one here. I'm going to also, a personal experience with a video voyeur in the congregation I went to here. And I'm going to tell that story as well. But thank you for chiming in with us. Thank you, Chewy. Always good to hear from you. We'll hear from you soon. Thank you. All right. That's Chewy out in Oklahoma. Do you guys know John Redwood? Well, he works with the Lloyd Cedars, right? Lloyd Evans, I should say. John Redwood, but that's not his real name. His real name is Mark O'Donnell. But he was writing this week, and I caught one of his writings. He's a really good writer. He's a good guy. We love Mark O'Donnell, or John, as he goes by. That's his other name. But he was just in court this week in Baltimore, and he goes around and he looks at these sexual abuse cases in the Watchtower, which is good of him. He does that, and he's good at it. And so he went to a scheduled trial of a Baltimore ministerial servant who was arrested on 24 different charges involving his secretly recording Jehovah's Witness pioneer sisters getting undressed, including his own fiancée. Are you kidding me? Are you serious? So she just purchased her wedding dress, and here he is with a phone camera looking up her skirt, up her dress. Now, many of the charges involve the perpetrator, Evan Dorsey, brother Evan Dorsey, shooting hundreds of upskirt photos of various young women, including the women at his workplace where he worked in Maryland for an immigration lawyer. Can you just... what I'm trying to do here, friends, what I try to do here at the six screens. I know some of our stories are a little bit over the top, but what I'm trying to do is show you this organization is not perfect. This organization is debased. That's what I'm trying to show you. We have all these men doing these terrible things to women. Well, Dorsey, brother Dorsey, he appeared in court Tuesday for his trial. But the defense asked for a postponement that he could get more psychological evidence from this sexual predator. So we'll see what happens with brother Dorsey. But, I just wanted to bring this to your attention tonight because I'm going to tell you, in my own family, this happened about 20 years ago. And it was my daughter. She was a beautiful, blue-eyed, blonde girl, 18, 19 years old at the time, loyal Jehovah's Witness. And she would go and she would babysit for this man in our Kingdom Hall, a young man. He's probably at the time in his late 20s, early 30s. And she would go and babysit for him. They went away skiing on the weekend, him and his wife. And my daughter would stay there and babysit the dogs. They didn't have babies, but she watched the dogs. And what happened is that man was a video voyeur, a sexual pervert. And what he did is he set a camera up in his bathroom, and he was taking pictures. He had his book study. The book study was in his house, and he took pictures of, the women going to the bathroom, and then they had sleepovers where the young girls would go over and take showers. He took pictures of them in the shower. And so my daughter found out about this, but before she found out about it, I knew of it. An elder came to me and told me that this man was doing it. So this was about a day before my daughter found out. And then my daughter came in after service one day, walked into the house, and collapsed. I mean, totally collapsed on the kitchen floor, not screaming, but loud enough that it was certainly irritating her. You could tell. Oh, what did he do? He was taking pictures. Did he put them on the internet? She was so afraid. Now, here's a young, innocent woman who was videotaped in the bathroom, and now she found out about it. And what did the elders do? I'll tell you what. There hasn't been many fist fights in a Kingdom Hall, but this was one that went down in history. There was one man there who his daughters would go over for a sleepover. And they were young, probably 8, 10 years old. And when he found out that this brother was videotaping them in the shower and going to the bathroom, when he was doing this, he just couldn't stand it. When that man came in that was doing this, they had a fist fight right there in the Kingdom Hall. The elders had to break the fight up. Did you ever see a fight in the Kingdom Hall? That would make me fight too. So there it was, a real confrontation. But you know what they did? They kept it silent for the longest time. But everybody in the Kingdom Hall found out about it. So they went to the brother that was doing this obscene, terrible thing, and they encouraged him to move to another congregation. They told him to move to Tennessee. They said, you got to leave Massachusetts. You can't be around here. You got a bad name for yourself. But they were hiding it for the longest time. And I don't believe the brother was ever disfellowshipped either. I'm not sure, but I don't think he was disfellowshipped. But my thoughts were, when he was sent to the congregation in Tennessee, you got to leave here. So he decided to move to Tennessee, but you got to get out of Massachusetts. This is too much to handle. So he moved to Tennessee, sold his house, moved to Tennessee. But I would like to know, did they really send the records to Tennessee, what this man did? Chances are no. So he could be doing the same thing in Tennessee today. How disgusting is that?
Hey, Rick.
Yes.
Who won the fight?
Well, actually, the one that won the fight was the guy that had the 2 daughters that were videoed by this pervert. Yeah, he beat him to a pulp. Yeah. Yeah. All right, you're on with us. What do you want to say? Randy, you want to say something?
Yeah, Rick, I want to say I'm real sorry that happened to your daughter. I know that must have been bad for you, too, to go through that.
Yeah.
But I'd like to just real quick, very similar experience that I know personally, because he was a servant, but we grew up together as kids in the same congregation. And what happened was he was regional district manager over, I think, 6 or 7 Pizza Huts, large Pizza Huts here in Oklahoma. And how I learned about what happened was some of the employees there said they had a meeting because he wasn't coming back, and it was announced to them that he got caught. It's also on the news, by the way, but he got caught out at the local mall, not only with a camera looking up women's dresses up their skirts, he was leaving the camera, putting it in the dressing rooms at the mall. And so I thought, well, it's my duty to call the elders. So one of the elders I called, he used to work for me, and I said, Jimmy, I want to tell you, here's what has been told to me, and it's a reliable source, that it was announced at this Pizza Hut meeting to the employees. And the elder, what he told me, he says, yes, Randy, we already know about that. that brothers had a problem for a long time with internet pornography. Well, anyway, what happened? He never was disfellowship. There was never any announcement. In the congregation. Instead, he immediately moved out of state, out of Oklahoma. Now, I can't tell you if he was told that by the elders. I don't know. But he immediately left Oklahoma, and there was never an announcement made.
Wow. Well, see that, Randy? So it hits home. It hits home. It's ugly. It's perverted. But these are not isolated cases. There are so many perverted Jehovah's Witness men. It's terrible. It's terrible. Thank you, Randy, for sharing that. Unbelievable. Okay, go ahead. You're on with us, California.
Rick?
Yes, Anne-Marie.
Yeah, I just wanted to make kind of a sideways comment. There was a video, supposedly an elders training video, kind of showing elders how to properly deal with a sexual situation. And this particular video involved elders calling before them a young Christian brother, Jehovah's Witness brother, who had fallen in love with a non-Jehovah's Witness girl, and she was now pregnant. And the elders had found out about it, and they had told him, you better, break off this relationship and get your act together, basically. And he just couldn't seem to do it because he loved this girl, 1, and 2, she loved him, and 3, she's going to have their child. I mean, you can imagine how torn this poor guy was. So they call him before another judicial committee, and they just rake him over the coals, and he breaks down crying because they're threatening him with being disfellowshipped. The poor guy is emotionally distraught, torn apart, thinking about the girl he loves, the child that she's carrying, but he loves the standing in the organization. He's been there his whole life, doesn't want to lose his family. And, he cried in his despair, please don't disfellowship me. I just couldn't stand it. My parents and friends not talking to me and blah, 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 and basically like that. And then they tell him to walk out of the room, and then they're talking about, well, we should probably disfellowship him. And one says, well, he's young, it's not like he's a bad guy. Well, we warned him to break it off. Yeah, but, he's really distraught. And the other one says, what really decides it for me? Not once did he say, oh, I feel so bad. I ruined my relationship with Jehovah. He's not really repentant. So they vote to disfellowship him. Now, we have that picture clearly in our mind, right?
Yeah.
Now we're talking about pedophiles and brothers in good standing who were secretly filming young girls and ladies in the restroom and up women's dresses, and they don't get disfellowship. They don't even get reproved. In fact, it's like if they have to really get rid of them, it's like, okay, go somewhere else. You're too much of a problem around here. Why is it that some poor guy who falls in love is a bad guy, and they come down on him like a load of bricks, like he's this terrible person? But the sexual molester, oh, well, that's not so bad. Let Jehovah take care of it. Thank you, Rick.
Well, thank you, Anne-Marie. But those are good comments, very good comments. But, the problem is, and the reason why I even bring this up tonight, the reason why I even discuss this stuff here on the 6 screens is I want people, because I know we have a lot of people listening in tonight. They're listening in from all over the world, as a matter of fact. And the reason why I want to bring these things up is I want people to know that the organization, the Jehovah's Witness organization, is not this pristine, pure organization. Their image is very tarnished, and people are understanding it. There's perverted people in there. Oh, there is? I mean, Brother Jones is perverted? Yes, Brother Jones perverted. People don't understand it. When we were all witnesses, we thought everybody was so nice and they were obeying Jehovah and they would never do anything like this. This is how these perverts get away with all of this. It's wicked, wicked bad. All right, you're on with us. Go ahead, Pixie. You there with us?
Video too that was supposed to be a witness training video or whatever, and any other religion would have converted the young girl, had an instant wedding, and had 2 new members with her child and the girl and the husband.
Well, yeah, funny, but I mean, no, it's a sick world, isn't it?
Well, one thing we know from medical literature, those pervs are never cured or healed, and moving them, like you said, he just would take it with him.
Yep. Oh no, not good, not good. Yep. So I'm sure that man went down to Tennessee and still doing the same thing. And he had such a wonderful wife too. That's what this guy that was videotaping the women of my Kingdom Hall. And he's such a nice person. Who would never? This is something that I have to. Women have way more intuition than men. My wife Susan here has intuition like you wouldn't believe. And even my former wife had intuition. And you women out there, you do have more intuition than men. God somehow put that in your genes. You have to be more aware of things. You have to be more concerned about your environment than a man does. But I'm going to tell you, even this man that was videotaping my daughter and all these other women in his bathroom in my Kingdom Hall, he appeared to be this really nice man. And right before I heard this horrific story, I remember for service, we were out in service and we were at a donut shop having coffee at a coffee break. So we're at the coffee break and I was sitting there with my wife and a couple other, my former wife, Inez. We were sitting there and there was other brothers and sisters, about 20 of us in the group. We had a big group that day. And so this one brother who was the video guy that was taking these bad videos, well, he came up to me and he was being real nice. Oh, Rick, good to see you. And after he left, I said, boy, Inez, isn't he a nice guy? She says, well, there's something about him I don't like, Rick. There's something about that guy. I said, no, don't pick on him. He seems like a good guy. Then a couple of weeks later, I learned that he was taking videos in his bathroom of sisters. So, women have a good intuition of these things. My wife, Susan, as well. And that's a blessing. And, sometimes we can't see it. But even when I moved back here from Florida to Massachusetts, there was a family I stayed with, and the man was a pedophile who was my best friend. He was my best friend when I was a Jehovah's Witness. And I moved in till we getting settled to get a house and what have you. So I stayed with him for a month or two. And, the woman, the wife came and said that her husband was a pedophile. And I immediately said, I don't believe that. And, my wife kind of chastised me, my former wife. She says, no. She says, why don't you believe that? I says, he's not. He's not a pedophile. I mean, what do you expect these people to look like? They look normal, right? You can't tell if one's a pedophile or pervert. How could you tell that? But yeah, in fact, from what I found out is more thoughts and reports came in that indeed was the case. So there you have it. You can't tell, even though you go to the Kingdom Hall and, oh, though, brother, he's so nice. Would you want your kids knowing what you know now? Would you want them to go to sleepovers? Would you want them to do that? Jeez, I wouldn't. I mean, I can remember my daughter, I had 4 daughters and 1 son. And my daughters would come to me, oh, Dad, can we go over brother and sister's house or a sleepover? I never thought about pedophilia. It's just the last thing I ever thought about because these people are in the truth. They won't do anything bad to my daughters. Oh, my goodness. Did I get a rude awakening? That's where you got to be careful. That's where you got to be very careful. I mean, my advice to any witness listening in here now, don't let your kids go to a sleepover, boy or girl. Don't let them stay over brothers and sisters' house. I wouldn't trust them for one bit. Don't do it. And the same thing at a convention. If they ever do go back to conventions, don't let your kids go to the bathroom alone. You don't know what perverts are in there. That's my advice. Don't do it. Well, my goodness gracious. We're in the news, JW World News. Hey, we do it every Saturday night. We talk about what's going on critically, negatively in the Watchtower. And we're glad you're with us. We're glad you could spend your Saturday night with us here. We always like that. And I want to welcome everyone coming in through YouTube and Facebook and the 6 Screens Video Suite and our radio telephone network. We thank you all for coming in and wanting to be with us. It's always good. It makes me feel good to know that you guys are on the same train I'm on. When I first started doing this, I didn't know how many people would be on that train, but there's many. So I'm glad you're on with us. All right. If someone wants to say something before we move to the next story, you got an open mic here. Go ahead. Okay. Well, let's talk about this. And this is something that I got thinking about this week. Very important, at least in my way of thinking, is, there's a lot more PMOs than we think. And of course, PMO is an acronym. I know you guys know it, but I'll say it for those that don't. PMO. What does PMO mean? PMO means physically in, mentally out. We're all getting that, right? But some people, they still wonder what it is. But there's a lot of PMO elders, right now that we think are very loyal to the Watchtower, but they're not. And the reason is because it's very hard for an elder to step down. Did you ever think of that? Did you ever put yourself in a position of an elder that would have to step down? Do you realize all the questions that he would have to answer when he steps down? Why, in fact, other people, those who are physically in and mentally in, those loyal witnesses, they couldn't imagine why anyone would be willing to step down unless they were a big-time sinner or questioning their beliefs. Yes. So anyways, there's elders right now that aren't stepping down because they know the repercussions they're going to get. They know the problems that their family members will give them. And they don't understand why an elder would step down being so close to Jehovah. Boy, the pressure that comes upon the elders, that's why they don't do it. That's why we have so many elders too. In fact, I'm getting them calling in here to the 6 screens. I'm getting them writing to me on email. They say, Rick, I'm an elder. I can't really say too much, but I get the idea, I get the understanding the Watchtower is corrupt. I get more of this every week. I'm getting this coming in. It's really crazy, but there's so many elders out there that have had it. But there's going to be this, all of a sudden, something's going to break here. Something's going to break, and we're going to see a mass exodus. And when all of these elders get up and pack their bags because they see how corrupt the Watchtower is, what do you think the rank and file is going to do? That's going to be it. So I see that on the horizon. I'm giving you a little heads up. You're going to see a lot of elders leave here in the next year. All right. We got more stories to talk about here. We do it every Saturday night. We're so glad that you want to join us. And like I say, 16 years ago, we started doing JW World News and trying to put the news out there and what the Watchtower was doing. But we had nowhere near as many stories as we have now. It's just totally amazing. Yes, Constance.
Thank you, Jim. My phone was acting up. I'm sorry, Rick. I wanted to go back, if you don't mind, just briefly to your last story.
Oh, absolutely.
Dear, when you were talking, thank you, dear. You were talking about that one elder who was a pervert, and they were trying to basically kick him out of Massachusetts and tell him, to get the heck out of here and go to Tennessee. And you brought up the point, which was really valid, about I wonder if the body of elders had sent a letter with regards to his conduct to the new congregation that's in Tennessee. Well, what's very interesting about that, Rick, tomorrow I get a wonderful opportunity. I get to meet Candace Conte tomorrow and her mom, and I'm just absolutely thrilled. I've been wanting to meet her probably for about 5 years, and it's a private gathering. So I'm really looking forward to that tomorrow. I'm very honored by that because she's very, very private. But what I wanted to bring up in relationship to Candace is when she was down in the Bay Area and Jonathan Kendrick was the ministerial servant who sexually molested her several times out in field service. Well, when he was in MS, he was a ministerial servant. When he was moved out of Fremont, it was North Fremont Congregation, and came up to Antioch, which is still part of the Bay Area, but that was the city, Antioch. A letter was sent from the North Fremont Congregation to the congregation in Antioch, okay? And the brothers in North Fremont had literally lied about him, Rick. Okay, I know this for a fact. This is not hearsay. They literally lied about him, and they said, "Oh, Brother Kendrick is wonderful with children." Okay. Now, the elder that I'm in close contact with, he and his wife are very close to Candace. His wife will be there tomorrow as well, and I know them very well. This brother was an elder. I can't mention his name, but he was an elder in the Antioch congregation, and he knew when he read that letter, Rick, he knew that the body of elders were lying about that ministerial servant. Okay, so it's very interesting, supposed to be a wonderful, honest Christian organization, where people are honest and they don't lie. And for those body of elders to boldly lie about this piece of crap and what he did, saying he was wonderful with children, it's just more filth on top of filth. So, these pedophiles, honey, they know the game. They know how to play the game. And their day will be coming when they will be, either prosecuted or even worse. So I just wanted to say that in terms of Candace's situation. And, there's a lot of them, a lot of pedophiles that are out there, Rick. So thank you.
Well, yeah, no, that's right. I'm glad you're meeting with Catherine Conti, too. Now, Catherine Conti, in fact, I'll tell you what, going back during that time that Candace, her daughter, was having the issue, she had a program here on the 6 Screens. It was called the Conti Files. And she actually had about, I'd say probably a half a dozen programs where she came on and talked about these things. And we really did appreciate her. And boy, she got a lot of listeners in. But I can understand the strain that was on her. And what was going on in that congregation was despicable. And as far as the letters are concerned, I have to tell you, this brother too, I say brother, but this man that was the voyeur, the video voyeur that moved to Tennessee, I'd be willing to bet donuts on the fact that it was never reported to them. He was just, okay, he came down and nothing was ever said, I'm sure. And he could be doing the same thing again. How discouraging is that? And the Jehovah's Witnesses have no idea. They're like even when but I have to say, I was one too, and I had no idea that there were pedophiles and child molesters and perverted people in the congregation. I thought everybody was loving Jehovah, and they would never do anything like that. But boy, was I wrong. Boy, I got a rude awakening when I got out. We see so much, and we're not embellishing this. We're not making it up. This is a very perverted organization. And I like what Dan Clark, he comes on, he talks about it. And the reason is because of sexual repression. The witnesses are so cautious about sex. Now, I'm not talking here premarital sex. I don't go along with that, and I wouldn't encourage that. But geez, everything to deal with sex is a dirty thing. And when you constantly push that thought, and sex is bad, and sex is dirty, and sex is perverted, what do you think you're going to do to people? People have this distorted picture. And what do you think even about dating? I never went along with it in the Watchtower. They say that when you date, you should have marriage in mind, and you should have a chaperone. I mean, just because a person has a date doesn't mean they're going to have sex. But the witnesses feel that, and they make people feel so guilty about, a date or a boyfriend, girlfriend. And I mean, the stories that you've heard here on the 6 Screens for the many years of how they repress people. And when you do that to people, that's what makes people perverts. And then I'm not a psychiatrist here. I'm not going to give you the whole skinny on it because I don't know. But I mean, I do know one thing. If you're going to constantly be saying how dirty sex is, and you have to have marriage in mind before you date, and this is bad, and that's bad, and the bedroom laws and all of this, what do you think it's going to do to people? It's going to make them sexual perverts. The same thing in the Catholic Church. When they, wouldn't let priests marry, what do you think happens? They do all kinds of strange things. And then they seem to go after children. Friends, there's more to be said about this. I don't have all the answers, but I'm sure you guys have ideas about it. You want to come back on, Connie, and say something?
Yeah, thank you, honey. I was just going to say, I mean, I totally agree with everything that you said there, Rick. But also, I mean, I think for the majority of us when we were in the organization, you know, and this is not meant to be disrespectful, it's just honest. I think many of us were just very naive. You know, we thought, well, we're just living good lives. You know, we're following God's word. You know, we're just living so-called Christian lives. You know, we thought we were, and so you figure, well, everybody else around you is too, right? You know, and I think a lot of us were just very naive. You know, and then, you know, you sort of get older and you get wiser, and you start to learn some things, and it's like, holy mackerel, man, I didn't even know that, you know, that could be possible in the organization. But, you know, the organization's always looking for new members, and they have gone to the prisons. I mean, that's no surprise. I remember that. We had a brother in our congregation who was a lovely elder, and he went to the prison, you know, one of the prisons down there in the San Francisco Bay Area, and, you know, had Bible studies. And I remember one gentleman who had been a prisoner. I guess he was out on parole or something. But anyway, and he came to the Kingdom Hall, and, you know, we got to meet him. But, you know, the thing is, you know, Watchtower's just looking for new members. And so that even means people who are in prison. Well, you know, there's some people that are in prison that have done some really vile things, you know, not just murder, but rape and pedophile, and, you know, they're on the bottom of the list when it comes to prisoners. You start doing that, man, you're going to be killed in prison, because the prisons themselves have their own code of laws. But, you know, these people think, well, you know, if I can start studying the Bible, then I look really good to the parole board, you know. So as long as I look good to the parole board, you know, maybe I can get out early on good behavior. And that's the game that, you know, these prisoners play. And then they start, you know, of course, studying, and then they get out, and it's like, wow, they got a 2-witness rule? You mean we can start messing around with kids and nobody knows it? It's not reported to the authorities? And you have to have 2 witnesses? Man, I'm in Candyland here at the JW World. So that's what it's all about, man. You know, we love families, we love children. And, you know, we need to be advocates and protect them. And parents can't protect their children if they don't realize, you know, that there's evil going on inside the organization. That's not to say everybody is, but I think I once heard it that there's 2 to 3 pedophiles on the average in each Kingdom Hall. Okay, so there's a lot more than you would even imagine. So thank you, Rick.
Well, we appreciate you always coming on, Constance, and giving your thoughts on things. We always appreciate your comments. Thank you. So the thing would be, would you be part of a religion that makes its members torture their loved ones? Think about it. Would you be part of a religion that does that? Would you be part of a religion that makes its members torture their loved ones? Well, let me tell you something. Shunning is classified as psychological torture. Yes. Sometimes it can hurt almost as much as real torture. And, you know what really upsets me so much is the Watchtower uses shunning, just fellowshipping, as a tool to keep people in the organization. And, you know, we brought up here before on the Six Rings, but I want to bring it up again. In 1947, there was an Awake magazine saying that, you know, shunning or excommunicating people from the church, excommunicating from the people from the church was a no-no. And the Catholics shouldn't be doing it. But that was back in 1947. And it said shunning is a formal decision by a denomination or a congregation to cease interaction with an individual or a group. And shunning differs, well, let me get in, it differs from excommunication. See, they brought out in 1947 that the Catholic Church excommunicated people, and they threw them out of the religion, so to speak. So the witnesses are saying that shunning is different than excommunication. I don't see the difference. I really don't. But witnesses have always been proponents of shunning. Well, let me read you this. This is right from the 1947 article in the Awake magazine. Was it the Watchtower magazine? The Awake magazine. I'm sorry. Yeah, it was Watchtower magazine. It goes on to say the shunning, the authority for excommunication, the Roman Catholic hierarchy claim, is based on teachings of Christ and the apostles as found in the following scriptures. Then they list Matthew 18, 1 Corinthians 5, Galatians 1, boom, boom, boom. But it says, but the hierarchy excommunication as a punishment and medicinal remedy finds no support in these scriptures. So in other words, the Watchtower is saying, well, it's in the Awake magazine, January 8th, 1947. They're saying in the Awake magazine that the excommunication or punishing people has no validity, has no scriptures that can back it up. So where did this practice originate? The Watchtower goes on and says, the Awake that is, says that the Encyclopedia Britannica says that papal excommunication is not without pagan influence. It is inadequacies that can be adequately explained unless account be taken of several non-Christian analogs of excommunication. Okay, let me explain that to you. It's kind of wordy, but let me explain it. So they're saying it's got pagan influence. Excommunication, according to the Awake magazine, January 8th, 1947, is saying that excommunicating someone has pagan influence. So, the Jehovah's Witnesses do the same thing, but what they did, they cleverly changed the word from excommunication to what? Disfellowshipping. You're not going to see the word disfellowshipping in the Bible. So they blame the Catholic Church for excommunication as a pagan practice. And then they come up and they say, well, we'll disfellowship people, which is basically the same, right? And every year, about 1% of Jehovah's Witnesses are disfellowship and shunned in the organization. So think about that. I bet you that's even higher now. This article goes back a little bit, but I bet you that it's more than 1% of Jehovah's Witnesses that are being disfellowshipped today. And shunning is a bad practice, as we all know. Well, what could be worse than cutting your family and all of your relatives off? You tell me, what could be worse than that? Nothing. That is the most important thing to people, is the family and the relatives. So I just wanted to bring that out to you guys. And I also want to read you another thread here. I read it last week, but I want to read it again. There's painful psychological and physiological effects to shunning. And I read this to you last week, but I'm going to read it to you again because I found it very, very fascinating. In fact, it's from the book. There's a medical book. The medical book is The Biological Domain. And it says here, now let me tell you how serious shunning is. If you don't think shunning has medical ramifications, you're not thinking straight. It does. Researchers have begun to make progress in identifying the underlying brain circuitry of the pain caused by social exclusion. Well, social exclusion is shunning. Social rejection or exclusion has often been described as literally painful. Brain research suggests that social exclusion is mediated by components of the physical brain pain system, such as the anterior cingulate context. The fact that people use words like hurt, wounded, and damaged when they are socially excluded, shunned, may reflect the shared brain circuitry through which physical induced pain and socially induced pain are mediated. Okay, let me break it down and tell you what that said. That's saying that when you get shunned, obviously it bothers you emotionally. It does, being cut off from your family, from your relatives who are Jehovah's Witnesses, cut right off. Psychologically, emotionally, that can be very damaging. But now brain researchers, medical science, they're understanding that you can also suffer physical pain. You can experience physical pain from shunning because the psychological part of you can also affect the physiological part of you. So medical science is understanding this. So the Watchtower knows this, that they know how damaging shunning can be to a person. And that's how they keep people in the organization. Oh, you want to be an apostate? Nobody's going to talk to you. Oh, you don't believe in the Watchtower? So they know the ramifications of shunning. They know how evil and how terrible it is. Shame on the Watchtower. Shame on the Watchtower. Look at all the families that have been broken up. Sad, isn't it? Well, what's more enjoyable than being with your family? What's more enjoyable than being with your great friends and getting together and enjoying their company? But the Watchtower can take and sever that relationship. How evil for a so-called Christian organization. You're on with us. Go ahead.
Hey, Rick.
Yes, Anne-Marie.
Hi, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but please forgive me. But it kills me the way shunning is one thing when you are old enough to have your own home or move in with a friend who's not connected with Watchtower, and you can somehow manage through the emotional pain to try to rebuild your life. But when you're younger and you're at home and your parents who are Jehovah's Witnesses feel that they have to shun you, to be shunned in your own home, and this happens to even young kids, pre-teens. I remember hearing about a 12-year-old who was forced pretty much, made to get baptized when he was, I think, 9 or 10, and then he got this fellowship for being rebellious or something like that. He was being shunned in his own home. It is painful enough to be shunned as an older child or a young adult, but to be a kid or to be trapped within a home with people who are supposed to be your blood family, to openly shun you to your face, or even as an adult, we know how it feels to see our own grown child or our own dear friend or a relative. We run into them at the store, or in my case, it was at the DMV. I ran into somebody that was my family, and actually I was shunning her, and there was no reason. But the thing is, to do it face to face in a personal situation is painful enough. But if we're old enough and we have our own life, we can get away. But the terrible, to me, crime is mostly against the young ones. Thank you, Rick.
Well, there you go, Anne-Marie. Yes, it's terrible. It's really, really terrible. But it does happen. It happens. So that's, let's go to the next story.
Hey, Rick?
Yes, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, this is Dan. Could I chime in a little bit on the story you're still talking about?
Of course, yes.
Yeah, I just want to say this, Rick. The Watchtower should know better. We used to get The Awake. And what The Awake was like a research magazine. And they would tell us, this book says this, and psychological, this says this, and Road Less Traveled said this. And they know what this does. That's what angers us so much. Rick, they know this is the severest of the severest of the severest of punishment. And I'll tell you what's even worse. Here's what's dangerous. Say a boy, like Anne-Marie says, gets in trouble. The Bible says we wish to do right. Dad is present with us. We get in some trouble, and we get disfellowshipped. Okay, they remove the guy. They say, we got to put him out for a while. But here's the problem. This is a big problem, Rick. When a man comes back, when a woman comes back, and they're humble enough to throw their hat in the door and say, I'm sorry, I messed up. Right there, their heart is wide open, vulnerable, and ready to receive love. And what's there waiting? 2 to 10 more years of shunning in the back of the Kingdom Hall. Now, Rick, they know this is evil. This is evil. Anybody, any psychotherapist, anybody would tell you, you can't turn your kids away that long. You can't turn a person away that long. You don't get jail sentences for that long. If you go in and steal something from a store, you might get probation. But you don't get quarantined in the back of a hall. You're right, Rick. That book you're reading, you're going to get permanent damage. You're going to shut down forever. You're going to say, well, the hell with it. You could go victim. This does permanent damage because there's nothing more worse than a vulnerable heart. And when the boy returns home, that's why Jesus said when the boy returned home and the prodigal son, everything he had was his. He didn't even want to hear the story like the witnesses do. Tell us the dirty story over and over. They allowed him back in. They put on a party. The drachma coin lost and found a party. The sheep that they went out and looked for, there was a party. And the witnesses, there's more abuse, a lot of abuse. So I'm so angry, Rick, that these guys can get away with this, that they can legally get away. And like Anne Marie said, kids that have nowhere to go. I mean, I've heard people that have to work with their fathers that can't talk to them and can't talk to the daughters. These men know the psychological damage. But what we found, Rick, by watching your show, listening to these videos, we see how angry these guys are. They are angry. And I see them as angry as black slave owners. They're as angry as black slave owners that would beat your ass if you ran away. They'd tie your ass to a pole and strap you till you couldn't move because they want it, and they'd make everybody else watch. Tell me that's any different than the Watchtower putting you in the back of the hall for all that time. Telling a lady not to answer her phone on one of their videos when the kid's calling mom and she doesn't answer the phone. That kid might have been right at the point of suicide. I just need to know my mom loves me. And where is she at? She's not in her heart. She's in her head. She's under law of authoritarian, psychopathic men who want nothing more than to spank you till you bleed. That's my thoughts, Rick. I really believe that. These guys are smarter than this. Anybody knows this isn't the way. In the old days, we got beat by our dad like senseless. Today, we try to talk through, we try to understand, we try to see things. We should be getting educated in understanding in these psychological matters. But they're not. They're sticking with these old programs. And we know why they're doing it, because they want people in, and they want to keep people in. And God help you if you leave, and they'll make a spectacle out of you. If you've left and you try to return, you might not get back. But anyway, Rick, I just wanted to chime in on that. That one is really, it's against our nature. You were talking about that earlier. How do we get to this point where we let kids be abused? Because we get drawn into it. This is what Jehovah says. This is what the Bible says. This is what and it's against all practicality. It's against our heart. That's why I say a lot of the women that had the big heart, that had the unconditional love, that could see beyond the kids doing wrong, isn't there anymore. A lot of women are like, send him to the Red Cross. He left Jehovah. I mean, they're totally not their own. They're totally not grounded within themselves. They've lost themselves. And because they have, unfortunately, the kids are lost too. The kids get damaged internally, mad. They turn to alcohol. They like, nobody loves me. I give up. I tried to come back home. They didn't want me. I got the cold shoulder. I mean, it's really something, Rick. And I hope, man, I'm praying this thing go down so this massive slavery and abuse can stop once and for all. And I think it is. I think it's coming apart at the seams, Rick.
Oh, it is, Dan. It really, really is. And, I'm looking here on YouTube. We're doing live YouTube tonight. So I'm looking at comments coming through here. But somebody's in there posting, kiddie porn sites. So I'm trying to remove them as we're talking.
Okay.
But, the thing,
Wow.
here, that's Watchtower doing that. They're trying to do everything.
Yeah,
they're doing everything they can to defuse what we're saying. So they're getting in there. Now, here's what makes me mad. You have YouTube that, we can't talk about the COVID virus or whether you should vaccination, whether you should take it or not. but yet they allow this, people to put kiddie porn up here. Can you imagine that? Well,
Yeah, they're trying to stop it, Rick. That's exactly what's going on. Like you say, there's no sense to it. Our computers are all shut down tonight. We've been praying about it. We got a show coming up in a little bit. And, none of our Wi-Fi's work. I mean, we can talk on the phone, thank God, but it just says we're not hooked up. But we're wondering why the interference, what's going on? I mean, it's weird, but yeah. I don't know. I think Watchtower is part of Deep State anyway. I really do.
Oh, they are. There's no doubt about it. I mean, I've never seen. I didn't know they could even do that here on YouTube. But people are making comments on YouTube, to get into these kiddie porn sites. So I'm trying to remove them. But geez, why would YouTube even put that up? They put a lot of other things up in review, but that they let slide. I don't get it, Dan. It's crazy. Thank you.
I don't either, man.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Be able to do a third-party workaround some way. It's above my understanding of electronics, but I'm sure somebody might know how to do that.
Yeah. Well, they're getting around it, Pixie. It's just disgusting to me. We've had so many intruders come into the 6 screens in the last 15 years, and then they're Watchtower operatives. They don't want this to go on. They don't want us talking here for 14, 15 years. It's actually going on 16 years now, talking here on the 6 screens and telling people how ugly and how critical all the news and the watch. They don't want us to do that. So they're doing everything they can.
You're getting a lot of views too, Rick, on the YouTube now, 5,000, 6,000, 8,000 views. People are really listening and paying attention. So, somehow you're on somebody's radar,
Yeah. Well, they don't like it. Thank you, Dan.
Hello, Rick.
Yes.
You made a really good analogy with the slave system in days of old, because those systems were corporations too.
I'm sorry, Pixie. I missed part of that. Go ahead and come back with that.
I said, I think Dan made a very good analogy. It's not the same as the slave system in days of old, but those systems were corporations too.
Yes, that's exactly right.
And there was a black lady on, she has a site, Miss Vicky TV, and it's not related to this at all, but she was on the other night making a case about the master and the biscuit, and how human behavior, people will jump through hoops for approvals, even if the person is not a good person.
Yeah, well, it's crazy. Can you make sense out of all of this? Really, Pixie? The whole world is flipped upside down.
Well, when you look at cults, when you look at what was done to people in Asian prison camps, when you look at the American slave system of the 18th century, when you look at psychology and what they were saying about people being shunned, I could write a book, and it's just painful to everyone it happens to. And that, like they said, these kids and teens, it's worse. The silent treatment from their families, all of these things, it may be velvety with nice shoes, but psychologically, these techniques are brutal.
We're with you. We're with you, Pixie. Hey, we had Nebraska on. Did Nebraska want to come back? We seen you on the screen here. I think you wanted to come and say something. If Nebraska would like to speak up, you're on with us. Go ahead.
Hey, Rick, I'm from California.
Well, hold on, Constance. I think we have Nebraska. Go ahead, Nebraska.
Great. Thank you.
Yeah, hey guys, it's Holly in Omaha, Nebraska. Hold on, I'm going to take you off the speaker so you can hear me because I got a lot of background noise. Anyway, I just got to start listening in a little bit ago and understand that, it's about shunning. And I really liked the comment of the gentleman earlier. Especially the part about the prodigal son, because that was the first thing that I was thinking about. And not only did the father, accept him back immediately, he also didn't punish him for a certain amount of time. There was nothing. It was just pure joy of having him return. very unlike, you know, what happens in the Watchtower, you know, even with like a disfellowshipping of maybe 6 months or so, there's still a period, there's still some sort of punishment. And that's not what that parable is about. That's not what, you know, Christianity as a whole should be about. Especially, you know, since we should be following in the footsteps of Jesus. He was in no way like that. He, you know, he accepted and loved everyone. And, you know, tried to teach his followers to do the same thing. And that's not what Watchtower does.
Well, Holly, that's exactly right. I just wanted to say thank you, Holly, for coming in. Now, don't you be a stranger. We always love to hear from you. Good comment. Thank you, Holly.
Nope, I love listening in when I can. Sometimes my schedule doesn't allow it, but I definitely appreciate the topics you bring up and the feedback from others. So thank you.
Well, you're welcome. Go ahead. You're on with us. Go ahead.
Rick.
Yes.
This is Chad in California.
Yes, Chad. Yes, Chad.
I was just going to bring out that I know many that get disfellowshipped. For instance, my son was disfellowshipped, and so was my daughter. But my daughter came back in within about 6 months. So, you know, that's a bad time for 6 months. My son being disfellowshipped and not going back, you know, that the period of being disfellowshipped is very, very brutal. But when you don't go back and that brutality lasts for 18, 20 years, like it has with him, the problem is, too, it bleeds over into his children. And that's what it's done in our family. It's bled over into his children. And then there's nothing there. And he has suffered tremendously over this shunning, disfellowshipping. And I can say I have even myself, even though I'm old, I have suffered. But for young people to have to lose their whole family for their whole life, and their children lose all the family that they would have had, to me, it is, I think that it's absolutely criminal. And why nothing's been done about it, I can't understand, because it's breaking every human right as far as I'm concerned. I just wanted to bring that out.
Well, Chad, that's
they have hid under the fact that it is a religion. If it could be seen for what it is, a corporation, it would fall tomorrow. But they hide under the cloak of religion, and people give their power away. They have what Stephen Hassan calls the dispensing of God. When we realize how big God really is, and no man can be that, and take your power back and ask yourself, who's the publisher and who's the slave? Then you set yourself free and worship the Most High, who made the mountains and trees and stars and planets and galaxies. Bless you, sir.
Yeah, that's the problem with religion, though. They're able to hide in all this religion because government protects all this religion. And that's what I have completely against, is that they're protected and they hide behind religion. It's criminal.
Well, thank you, Chad. Thank you. I agree with you. There's nothing you said that I don't agree with. And the good thing is there are some countries now, the Netherlands, and now we also have another country right now as we speak that are looking into the shunning policies of the Watchtower and saying how heinous and evil they are. And hopefully we can get to that story tonight. Let me see what that other country was. Yeah, it's just okay. Yeah, well, the Netherlands is looking into it, and also we got right now in Belgium, they're looking into it as well. So let's see if we can't get some. Let's see if we can't get some traction here, and hopefully America can start looking into the policies of shunning in the United States too. Well, thank you, brother. Okay, you're on with us. Go ahead. Yep, Montreal. You want to come in, Montreal? You're on with us, Montreal.
Oh, hi.
Hi.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
This is Annie from Montreal.
Hello, Annie.
Hi. No, I was just thinking you were talking about the kiddie porn thing, and I believe Jason Zelda had a video on all the stocks and shares that they have, that Watchtower has, and I believe some of it was military and also porn and movies, things like that. And that just reminded me of that. So I don't know how they cannot be, some private investigators should maybe check into that, and perhaps they could do something.
Yeah. Well, is this Annie from, is this my friend on Facebook?
Yes.
Oh, very good, Annie. Well, thank you for calling in. That's nice you called in tonight. Now, don't you be a stranger. We love to hear from you.
Oh, thank you. It's the first time I got through.
Yeah, well, thank you for coming in, Annie. It's good to hear from you. Yeah. I know you're my good friend. I see your post. Yeah, so you just keep up the good work. That's a very good comment, and hopefully something's going to be done soon.
And your show is really great, and I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Well, you're very welcome, Annie. Thank you. Oh, there you go. I mean, what do you?
Thanks.
Yes, go ahead.
Hey, it's me.
Hi there, Rick.
Yeah, let's go with the lady, then we'll go with the man. Go ahead, sir, miss. Go ahead.
Oh, me. It's me, Smurf Girl.
Oh, Smurf Girl, Veronica.
Hey, yeah.
Smurf Girl, hey.
Real name. Hey, I can use my real name now. Oh my goodness, my real name is Vanessa, so you can call me Vanessa from now on. I know.
I love your channel.
Thank you. My dad's Kingdom Hall just got put up for sale the other day, so I'm 7 of the 9 halls are now down for the count. Only got 2 more to go. But what I wanted to say about the shunning is something that I started, I don't know, like maybe 3-4 months ago. I've done it about 4 times where I got some of my friends' Jehovah's Witness families to stop shunning them. And it was kind of like a last resort, where it's like, okay, you know, I'll go in, this is a last resort kind of thing, and it's quite shocking, but reverse psychology works amazing on Jehovah's Witnesses. So I called up their families and you know, said, oh, I was interested in knowing more about the organization, and I started to talk about shunning. And I knew exactly how long they had been shunning because I'm friends with their children, because their children are apostates. So I knew it had been like 10 years since they'd all spoke. And so we started to discuss shunning. And instead of trying to be like, oh, well, you should be loving and you should talk to your children, instead I went the exact opposite. And I went more extreme than even the Jehovah. Well, I guess I just voiced their feelings out loud because they need to hear themselves. So I instead said, no, I fully agree with you. Like, if your children do not bend to your wishes as a parent and they don't believe exactly what you think they should believe, like, I don't care if I even talk to my grandkids or talk to my kids. If it takes 20 years, I don't care if they need me. I'm not even going to answer the phone. I was a jerk. And because I was being a jerk in Jehovah's Witness terms, where I'm like, how long has it been since you talked to your kids who are no longer Jehovah's Witnesses? She's like, oh, one of them was like, oh, maybe about 8 years. I'm like, good for you. I don't care if they even call you. Don't answer the phone. Like, really, even if they're suicidal, I don't even care. And instead, when I said that to them and they heard what it sounded like for a third party to say it, they called their Jehovah's Witness apostate relatives within like 24 hours.
Wow.
It was crazy.
Wow.
Yeah.
Boy, well, that was a good little trick. My goodness, Veronica. I won't call. I'll call you. Yeah, that was interesting. That was fantastic. Hey, you got to. Boy, you came on, and all of a sudden the phones lit up. You got some fans on here, evidently. Really. So that's
good.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So I just wanted to say. Oh, sorry. I just wanted to say. Like, that's totally awesome. I just wanted to comment to Smurf Girl right now, and like your comment just you're very smart the way you speak, and you're very reasonable the way you speak, and I think it's kind of like a Jehovah's Witness mindset is kind of like, think of it like a ball in the middle of the air. It's very easy to move one way. It's very easy to move the other way. But Jehovah's Witnesses tend to go the other way. But it's like, I find when you, like Smurf Girl said, when you use reverse psychology, it's like, rewind the cogs. Let's begin again. But it's, hopefully the message gets through one day. I believe all people eventually, hopefully, will make the right decisions. But, you know.
Yeah, it takes desperate measures sometimes, like real desperate measures. Because another thing that got so many people here in town to leave is when I would talk to them, instead of trying to talk reason to them, usually like if you're asking them about their beliefs, they'll ask you, well, what kind of beliefs were you raised in? So I would say, I was raised in Freemason beliefs. And it's like, okay, well, I don't know much about that. So then I'd ask them about one of their teachings, like 1914, whatever. And then they would describe it to me. And I'd say, oh, me too. As a Freemason, I for sure believe that too. Oh, we're like-minded. Oh, that's great. You use the name Jehovah? So do we. It's the most important word in Freemasonry. In fact, it's the ultimate word, and we see him as the universal sovereign, like a universal God. And I'll explain it, and they're like, you do? I'm like, oh, yeah. We're exactly like the Jehovah's Witnesses. I'm so interested, it's not even funny. And and even with the old books, I'll say things like, I really enjoyed reading that book, Studies in the Scriptures. I would love to know more about that. There are certain chapters in there. Boy, Charles Taze Russell was saying something so interesting. Can you send me more articles talking about that? And they'll be like, well, what? Like, what chapter? I'm like, about the pyramid and everything. Here, let me send you a digital copy so you know what I'm talking about. And then they'll take it and they'll read it because I liked it. I'll tell them it was interesting. I enjoyed it. It's reverse psychology.
Yeah. I don't know. I might be a little bit. Yeah, I might be a little bit behind on my timing, but it's my aunt. I've talked to my aunt before. Again, I called like last week to tell Rick about this. It doesn't matter with my aunt. You can. I had a picture of Charles Taze gravestone, right? The pyramid standing there and being removed. And I says to her, well, why do you think they're removing the pyramid? And it's right next to a Masonic hall across the street, Charles Taze Russell. And it's like, it's painful when it's so obvious to see.
Yeah.
But the other person on the other side doesn't see it.
Yeah. Well, because we were putting the word out there and they had to cover their tracks. Like for them, that was a monumental thing. Yeah, because that's the foundation of the whole religion. And they're removing the foundation, but yeah, they were trying to hide it. Great.
Yep. Smurf Girl, I had asked my aunt this question before, and what I do know about Charles Taze Russell is basically,
with all the literature saying he was just an individual seeking Bible truth. So I said this to her. I said, so out of all the countries in the world, out of every single human being, Jesus and Jehovah chose Charles Taze Russell to bring a life-saving message on earth. Why not have somebody in Israel be the founder of that, or somebody else? I mean, it seems to me like, I don't know, he just got this special feeling one day and decided to buy a few typewriters and start interpreting scripture. Like, just doesn't make sense.
No. Yeah, it's crazy.
Well, Smurf Girl, you're really doing a job. In fact, I'll tell you what, we're on YouTube here now. I can see, boy, the people like you on YouTube too. They love having.
I like them.
Oh yeah, well I know you do. They're all writing in here. It's nice to hear you here in the 6 screens tonight. So, boy, thank you for chiming in. Don't you be a stranger.
Problem.
And also the brother here too. I guess the brother's from Toronto, I believe. But thank you for calling in and then being with us tonight. Always good to hear from you guys. Thank you. Yeah.
Rick?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's good to see you on the screen again. You look really photogenic.
Is that right? Yeah, I didn't think I was that photogenic. Like I say, I always thought that like I said, I told you last week, I look better in person. Yeah.
You're a good-looking guy, Rick.
Well, thank you. Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
All right, we'll chat later.
Well, thank you for calling in from Toronto. Hey, listen, another thing I wanted to bring up, and then we're going to be cutting to our next program here in about 5 minutes. But, you know, the word threshold, we know what that is, right? That's that's what you walk over when you go through a door. But I was wondering, how big is the Watchtower threshold? Man, in fact, someone did some research on Reddit, and I was really surprised. They've been talking about that research. They've been talking about that threshold going all the way back to 1950. It says, and now this time of the end, when we are at the threshold of the new world, he has gathered us, his organization and fulfillment of his promise. That's back in 1950. That here we are at the time of the end. We're at the threshold. And then 51, they mentioned again, 1953 again, 1954's Jehovah's servants, more than any others in earth today, have much to look forward to being right on the threshold of the new world. How many times you're going to hear it? This goes on and on. This person did the research on Reddit. I thank him for doing it. 1956, 1958, 1960. What a shame it would be to lose out on the new world when we are now on the threshold. Watchtower, September 1960. I mean, there's got to be 50 different watchtowers here talking about the threshold. And 1967, 1969, 1970, 72, 73, 75. Today we stand. The Watchtower May 75 says we stand on the threshold of the great era of the earth. How many times could they say this and get away with it? We get 1990 up to 1994, 1995, 1996, 1997. Today, Jehovah's people stand at the threshold of the righteous new world. How big is this threshold? My goodness gracious. This is not an average threshold. This thing is wide. Geez, I'm telling you, how many years can you say this? 1999, they're saying it. Not in 2000, they're saying it. 2001, they're saying it. 2003, 2004, same thing. 2006, we are now on the threshold of the new world promised by Jehovah God. Watchtower, May 15, 2006. 2014, all the way back to 1950, we're on the threshold. How big is the threshold? 2016, we stand at the threshold of the promised new world. Watchtower, June 2016. My goodness, can you believe it? And then even a JW Broadcasting, 2021, Now we stand at the very threshold of the new world. How can you get away with all of this? How do you get away with all of this and people still believe it? They've been saying it since actually going, in fact, they even got one here all the way back to, I guess it is, 1950. 1950, it probably even goes back more, yeah.
Rick,
Yes.
Are you saying you don't believe that the second coming was in 1914?
I have to say that. I have to really say that, Brian, yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay, well, you're on the verge of getting disfellowshipped. You better be careful.
Oh, yeah.
You know, I did want to just comment on one thing that I sort of disagree on with the crowd here, and that is this idea that somehow you've got to get the authorities to prosecute them for shunning. And all this other stuff, if there's criminal behavior and all that, that's one thing. But I don't think we want to have, you know, as unpleasant as they are in some other sects in Christendom, and even if you don't like Islam, or if you don't like whatever, if you don't like unions, some people on the right wing don't like unions. You don't want the government coming in and destroying or taking away our freedom of association. Now, I understand, you know, JWs tick everybody off, at least in this crowd that's on here, on this site, on this venue. But don't be wishing for the government to take away freedom of association. And you see, freedom of association is not only to associate with somebody, but to not associate with somebody. So as unpleasant as it is, there's got to be another way that you deal with the shunning problem. And in fact, it's just like if you were in some church that you really, really liked, and they weren't a bunch of creeps like these guys, and there were people coming in and causing problems in your local church, you would like to be able to say, okay, well, you people aren't welcome here. And that would be the same as, it wouldn't even have to be a church. It could be some type of a Rotary Club or Knights of Columbus or whatever. So I just have a difference of opinion on that. I know how unpleasant it is and how bad it is for people to be shunned, but if I decide that I don't want to talk to somebody, the government shouldn't have the right to force me to talk to that person or punish me for not talking to that person. And that's what this is. I agree they take it to an extreme, but don't be wishing for the government to take your rights away, rights of anybody. That's
well said. Well, that's well said. That's a good take. I'm with you with that. In other words, this is something you would hope the Watchtower could just get away from their own wickedness. But as far as the government, because I went to a state congressman here in Massachusetts, and I talked to him about that, and I showed him. I spent 3 hours with them, and I showed him some of the articles from the Watchtower and how they'd actually kill an apostate if they had the opportunity to do it. But he said, look, he says, my own kids, they shun me. He says, I don't talk to my own kids. He says, we can't make laws on telling people who they should talk to. So you're right, Brian. You're absolutely right. Well, we would like to see, but we're working on different angles here. We'll see what happens.
Rick, when we were younger, back in the days when you and I were young men at the congregation and all of that, I don't think that the shunning, yes, people got shunned and they got disfellowshipped. There's the odd disfellowshipping back in the 70s, not very many, but the odd one. And it was very seldom for any apostate or anything like that. It was mostly if somebody did a sexual immorality thing. But I don't think. It seems like people got reinstated relatively quick back then.
Oh yeah, no, they don't get reinstated not that much today, Brian. No, it's a good conversation. I wish we had some more time to further it on, but we got a program coming up on here. But Brian, it's always good to hear from you. I really mean that. You're a great guy, and don't be a stranger. I know you've been coming in lately, and I wish I could spend a little more time, but we got to cut to the heart-to-heart program. Thank you, Brian, and thank you all for coming in here tonight. I hate to leave you guys stranded. We got a lot that still want to talk to us. But I just wanted to make a couple of comments before we go to heart. Next week, we have a Halloween special. Next Saturday night, we're going to be talking all about occultism in the Watchtower. We're going to be talking about the devil and his tricks. We're going to be talking about a lot of things that hypnotism in the Watchtower and all of this stuff. So don't miss us next week for a Halloween special. Not that we celebrate Halloween, but we're going to talk about it because Charles Taze Russell, friends, he died on Halloween. So we'll be talking about that as well. So also I wanted to get a shout out to all those people that are activists. We had Smurf Girl on tonight. I want to say hello to Critical Thinker. And I want to say hello to Lloyd Evans and John Redwood. And I want to say hello to JW Escape and all the people, Goat-like Personality, all the people on YouTube, all the people that are exposing the Watchtower. Keep it up. Mike and Kimmy as well, because it's all working. And listen, what I want you guys to do for me is this. If you could, like us on Facebook and like us on YouTube and subscribe and tell the folks that we do this every Saturday night. And I would appreciate that, really. And write on Reddit, too, that you listen in and you hear all these people calling in from all over the world and how they've been touched by the tentacles of the Watchtower. Thank you very much, everyone, for coming in here tonight. And the last one, leaving the Watchtower, please turn off the new light. We're now going to Dan and Angela Clark, Heart to Heart, right here on the Six Screens Telenetwork. Stay with us.
You're on the Six Screens Telenetwork, earning the reputation of giving all the right ingredients, uninhibited, and exposing the hard, cold facts about the Watchtower Society. And now, the end is near.
Every morning, the light keeps getting brighter as I wake up to the truth. And every day, I'm feeling so much lighter, and the world seems fresh and new. What I was taught and the way that I thought stopped serving me long ago. Now I'm learning to trust in the God of all of us. Each day I start anew, and so I'm walking away from the thinking that held me for so long. Today is the day I walk away.
Well, that's a great song for a great program. Eddie Watkins Jr., Jr., and so it is. Hello, Angela and Dan Clark. How are you guys doing tonight?
Hey, doing good. How you doing?
Doing good. I like the song. I really like the song. The new song's great.
Yeah, Angela picked that out. We're all walking away from abuse and, all the crazy things we've been through. And we're actually, the light is getting brighter for us. It's the same old dim light in the Watchtower, and it's getting dimmer, but it's sure getting bright for us.
Yeah, and Rick, if we could just play it next time to the end of the chorus, because he says he's in the end to all this sadness.
Yeah, well,
Today is the day
I can do it. I can do it right now if you like. I can play it. I'm in the middle of it. I can play it right a little more if you like.
Well, that's okay. Just write that.
Go ahead.
All right, let's play it. Yeah, okay, let's do it.
We're walking away.
Hold on one second here. the way YouTube is today. But let me try to get to the end of it here. Okay, well, I guess we're probably gonna have to do it next time. Something messed up here with YouTube.
Okay.
Not a problem.
I'm sorry. Yep.
Not a problem. All right, Rick, we're ready to rock and roll. We ready to go?
Oh, we're ready to go. Things are sounding good. Everything is great.
All right.
So here we go.
All right.
Okay.
We got a great guest tonight. Angela's going to introduce him right now.
Yeah, and our computer wouldn't work tonight, so we can't be on the suite. Sorry about that.
All right.
I don't know. We can't get online for some